Welcome everyone to my discussion on the Bandai Tomorrow S.H.F figure arts for the DC Comics line, as it makes a return after a 10-month absence with the scheduled release of the Batman figure this August. But I'm going to be discussing the short history of the figure arts for the DC live action movies, so I will exclude any game or comic releases they have given us. And I know for Tomorrow they aren't exactly known for their DC line. I'll probably say go for the likes of Medicom Mayfex or McFarlane Toys, but I always have a soft spot for the Tomorrow since I have a lot of the MCU figures as well as some of the Dragon Ball ones. So now I'm going to be talking about the releases, the comparisons with the other companies, and how many characters they have made for each of the lines. And what is next for the Tomorrow line for the DC, as this could be the end or possibly the beginning of a new chapter. The ongoing disruptions at Warner Brothers with cancelled movies, reshoots, off-screen problems, it does actually impact on the figures they are releasing. Just look at the first Justice League release. They cancelled both Aquaman and Cyborg, and they didn't release any figures for the Shazam or Aquaman movie. And we've only had 5 S.H.F Figure Arts DC releases in the last 3 years. And if you compare that to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they've had 51. So I'm going to go through the timeline of releases for each of the movies, discussing the releases, the characters we have, and which one is the best version out there. Starting off with the first ever live action DC release, and that was towards the end of the year in 2016 December, as they gave us the Suicide Squad line with Harley Quinn. And this is considered to be one of the best Harley Quinn figures in 1/12 scale, with the accurate head sculpts, all the weapons, and I would say it's even better than the Mayfex and Mezco versions out there. Of course, Medicom gave us alternate versions of Harley Quinn like the club scene version, but in terms of the original suit, I would say pick the S.H.F figure arts. Then in 2017, they gave us more Suicide Squad figures. First we have Joker, not the most memorable version in the films, so this figure wasn't exactly high in demand, but they did produce an accurate version with the silver blazer, with the guns as well. Mayfex gave us a lot more by releasing a purple jacket, as well as the white suit edition, and that had the swappable body for the prison cell. So in terms of options, you get a lot more from Medicom. And also in the same year, there was the Deadshot release, and this continued the trend of a very good likeness to the Suicide Squad line, with multiple interchangeable heads, weapons, and good articulation. Again, Medicom Mayfex gave us an edition, and to me it was very similar, so it's just personal preference which one you choose. So those are the 3 characters they released for the Suicide Squad, and that was it. It's the same for Medicom Mayfex, although they gave us more options. But if you want the whole team, I suggest go for the DC Multiverse Mattel versions. Next, we can go on to the non-DCEU with the Nolan trilogy, and this consists of both the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight Rises figures. This was released over the course of 2017 and 18. And Batman, which is based on the sequel, is another great figure they released with all the accessories. I'll say the only thing is it lacked a Bruce Wayne head sculpt, although for Medicom Mayfex they had to release 3 versions of the Dark Knight Batmans, and this is excluding the Batman Begins release. But in terms of which one you choose for this movie, the Dark Knight, I'll say the S.H. figure art is a decent option. Then for Joker, we have the obvious release again, as he stole the show. This wasn't exactly a bad figure, as it had all the weapons and also multiple heads. But I personally like the Mayfex edition, which I think had the better likeness. Again, they had to release 2 versions of that. So whilst the S.H. figure arts is a good figure, I would actually rank it behind its competitor. And they also gave us a Catwoman, which is a good figure, and in some ways I liked it better than the Mayfex edition, who also released 2 versions. And the other release was a Batpod, which was a great addition for both the Batman and Catwoman figures, and I think for the Batman they also had extra weapons. So that's the Dark Knight trilogy releases with only 3 figures, and it's hard to recommend this line since Mayfex gave us a lot more villains with Ra's al Ghul, Scarecrow, Bane, as well as a Bruce Wayne figure and multiple Batmans, Jokers and Catwomans to choose from. The Justice League line began in 2017 to 18 with the releases of Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash and Superman. Again, this was an incomplete line in comparison to Medicom, as they cancelled both the Aquaman and Cyborg figures. So I do recommend the Mayfex version as they had the whole team and more releases in 2022 scheduled. Now, unless you just want a certain character like the Wonder Woman, I feel that the Medicom Mayfex is the best option out there. and even choose the McFarlane toys if you want the complete team, as they also released a Steppenwolf and Darkseid. Moving on to 2020, so the last figure they released was in 2018 with the Justice League line. The Birds of Prey Harlequin was given to us, and the movie didn't do too well, but the success of Harlequin in the previous movie, they were banking on this release, so they released the final battle edition with the gold jumpsuit. Of course, Medicom Mafex have one scheduled, but it's not released yet, but the other option would be the McFarlane toys. We also got in 2020 the Wonder Woman from Wonder Woman 84, and this was the original suit version. In terms of the face sculpt, this was a big improvement compared to the Justice League, but obviously it had lesser weapons. And they also gave us the Golden Eagle armor, which was released in 2021, and this is a great figure, so both of these are some of the best DC figures I own. Of course, Mafex have them scheduled, but they're not released yet, so the other options would be the McFarlane toys, who have also released these two figures. The Batman 1989 was released in 2020, and this was the Tim Burton classic, highly anticipated for obvious reasons. It's not the perfect figure, but it's a Batman figure we waited for too long, especially if you couldn't get the NECA version, or you're still waiting for the Mezco one, then I'll definitely recommend to pick up this version, as this is still a 1989 classic Keaton Batman, and the only thing is I wish they built on this collection by releasing a Joker, Catwoman and Penguin. And the most recent release, which was 10 months ago, is the Suicide Squad figure of Harlequin, the sequel movie in 2021, and they gave us the classic black and red costume. It was in the early parts of the movie, and it was going the same route as the Birds of Prey release, where they only released Harlequin so far. No weapons were included, and this was due to the ban, and I really wish they added more characters like Peacemaker or Bloodsport, just to give us more variety. So if you want the whole team of the Suicide Squad, then you have to pick up the McFarlane toys. So that leaves us with the Batman in 2022, and whilst this is a good figure based on the photos, if you want other characters, I'll say wait for the Medicom Mafex, as I believe they will make at least more of the collection, but for S.H.F Figure Arts, I think they may just give us a Batman. But if you just want the Batman with good articulation, sculpt, accessories, then this is an option. But looking at the photos so far, I'll say the Mafex and Mezco editions seem to be the definitive The Batman figure. So that's the brief history of the DC S.H.F Figure Arts releases. The only figure we can look forward to at the moment is the Batman. Of course, everything else I'm unsure. Maybe they'll give us a Black Adam once the movie comes out. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe. And also stay tuned to my channel for more news, reviews and collections.